Hello there and welcome to the Modern OpenGL course. In this course you will learn all about modern OpenGL techniques as well as how to implement some of those, but most importantly you'll also be learning some computer graphics theory behind all of that and how to implement that. So even if you decide to switch over to something such as DirectX, a lot of the stuff you learn in this course will transfer over to that. A lot of OpenGL courses out there I have found seem to start you off by teaching you how OpenGL used to be used before it hit version 3.2. This is considered the old way of doing OpenGL. It's really not very good if you want to create anything that's quick and decent. If you want to be able to make anything useful with OpenGL, you have to be using modern versions. So what I actually do in this video series is teach you modern OpenGL from the get-go. In order to learn this, all you really need to know is C++. You don't need to be particularly proficient with C++. As long as you know things as advanced as pointers and references, you will probably be fine on this course. In addition, it would help to have some mathematical knowledge, particularly trigonometry, and even a little bit of vector maths would help, but I will teach you how vectors work in this series anyway. So a little bit about myself. I know some of you may not be entirely interested, but for those that are, my name is Ben. I have a master's degree in computing science. I have 2 years worth of professional experience in the field. I have 5 years of experience with OpenGL itself, and I'm currently a freelancer and have been for the past year. I'm a very avid developer, and I like to keep up with modern techniques when it comes to this sort of thing. So hopefully from that you can deem me trustworthy when it comes to teaching this sort of material. But enough about me. The real question I imagine a lot of you are wondering is, what exactly will you learn in this course? Well, of course, the first thing I mentioned before is that you will be learning a lot of modern OpenGL techniques. We won't be going into the old stuff. We won't be learning what's called immediate mode. We'll be skipping straight over that and getting into the meat of the actual framework itself. You'll be learning to create windows and handle input. So you'll be able to make a window appear on the screen and then handle input from either the mouse or your keyboard. You will learn about 3 types of shader, which are the things that handle how objects are being drawn in the background. You will learn about the vertex shader, the fragment shader, and something that a lot of the video tutorials I've found online don't teach, which is the geometry shader. I'll be showing you that briefly in the shadow lesson. You'll be learning to draw 3D models, of course. So we'll start off by just drawing a simple triangle, but we'll upgrade that to drawing a pyramid. And then after that, we'll actually be putting in proper, large, complex 3D models. You will learn how to use GLM, which is the OpenGL Maths library. We'll use this to do a lot of the more complex maths in the background, handling vectors and matrices, which you will also learn about in this course. You will learn to translate, rotate, and scale models, of course, using GLM, as I just mentioned. So translate is to move an object, rotate is, of course, to rotate it, and scale is to change its size. You'll be learning uses of interpolation, which is very handy when it comes to things such as textures and lighting effects. You'll be learning to use index draws, which makes a lot of our model drawing extremely simple by stopping us from having to mention information we've already mentioned. You'll be learning different types of projection, mostly the orthographic projection and the perspective projection, which can be used for 2D and 3D views. So if you want to make a 2D game, you would use the orthographic projection, and if you want to make a 3D one, you'd use the perspective. You'll be learning how to create a camera in this world, which you can control with your keyboard and your mouse and move the camera around in the scene so you can actually interact with things. You'll be learning texture mapping, so we don't just have to have a bunch of boring looking solid objects. You can add a little bit of detail to the sides of them by putting images on them. You'll be learning the Phong Lighting model, which is the most commonly used lighting model when it comes to graphics, and probably the part that a lot of you are looking forward to. You'll be learning to use the Phong Lighting model with 3 different types of light, particularly a directional light, a point light, and a spotlight. Directional light is like the sun, a point light is like a light bulb in a room, and a spotlight is like a flashlight or a torch. So for those of you that intend to develop horror games after doing this, the spotlight will probably come in quite handy for you there. You will learn to import pre-made models, so we don't have to keep drawing them all by hand ourselves. Instead, we can make something in a program such as Blender, Maya, or 3ds Max, and then we can import those models into our world. One of the most exciting things in this course is you'll be learning shadow mapping. A lot of tutorials out there don't do shadow mapping. They usually get to lighting, maybe even importing models, and then they stop. But I will be teaching you here shadow mapping using directional lights, point lights, and spotlights. So we'll be able to do what's known as directional shadow mapping and omnidirectional shadow mapping. And something else which I have actually yet to find any tutorial online that shows you how to do this is how to do shadow mapping from multiple light sources. All the tutorials I found online, they always teach you how to do shadow mapping from a single light source. But in this tutorial, I will be teaching you how to do it from multiple light sources. At the end of all this, I will actually teach you something a lot simpler than shadow mapping, which is how to implement a skybox, which creates the illusion of a much larger world. So we don't just have to have a massive void behind our scene, we can have like a big sky with clouds and mountains and all sorts of things. But most importantly, I will be teaching you the theory behind all of these things. Again, a lot of lessons I found out there will only teach you the code and sort of brush over the theory as they go along. In this, you will find I've split up my videos into two types of video, either a theory video or a coding video. A theory video will be much like this. It will be a presentation where I will teach you the logic, the maths, the technical parts of what's going behind the scene of each of the concepts I've listed here. And then you will have the coding videos, which is where I will teach you the actual code. You will watch me, I will be using Visual Studio, and I will be putting all of these things I've listed here into action. And by the end of this, you will know how to do all of these things, but most importantly, you will understand why and how these things are done. So I hope you look forward to that. You can skip the theory lessons if you're really not into that. However, I would highly advise that you watch them, because understanding the theory of graphics is just as important to understanding the code behind graphics, especially if you actually want to get into a job involving graphical development, such as video game development. Understanding the theory is crucial for something like that. So hopefully you will watch those videos. But that's enough about this course itself. I imagine you all want to get into this course. So in the next video, it will be a theory video where you will learn about how to actually set up your environment using things such as GLEW and GLFW so that you can actually start drawing to the screen. And in the video after that, you will learn how to do this in the code itself. And then you will finally be able to actually start drawing something to your windows. So I hope you're all looking forward to that, and I'm glad to have you on this series, and I will see you in the next video.